All right, shalom, brothers and sisters. My name is Asiy'el Ben Israel. Welcome to BreakinBabylon this Wednesday night. Hope you brothers and sisters are having a good night so far. Before we get started, I want to make sure y'all can hear and see me clearly before we get started with tonight's topic. Always, while you're doing that, go ahead and share, like and share the video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, if you're on Facebook, like the video, share the video. Let your friends and family know we're on live. This is a good topic tonight that everybody needs to be in tune with. So make sure y'all come in. Make sure everything is good so we can get into this. Okay. All right. So make sure you like, subscribe to the channel. We're gonna get right into it tonight. All right. All right. Yeah, good vibes. All right, appreciate it. Thank you. All right, so now we're going to get right into it. As y'all can see in the title tonight, what we have is we're going to deal with the Kyle Rittenhouse shooting and also the latest laws dealing with the LGBT. So like the video, especially this second part, especially if you're in Illinois, you really need to pay attention to this topic, right? What we're going to go into tonight because it's really important. Okay, it's really important. So like, subscribe to the channel, support the work. Let me make sure we over how we're looking on Facebook here. Let me see. All right, so we're good on Facebook. All right, so brothers and sisters, okay, like I've always said, unless you've been living somewhere, support the work, under a rock lately, and you haven't seen what's been really going on in the news, then you would see, the latest shooting with Jacob Blake in Wisconsin. Right, Kenosha, and also the after effects of what's been going on here, right? So with that, I know the screen went out, but with that shooting is a lot of people have now come in afterwards, and they're taking advantage of what's been going on. I need that. Thank you. There's been taken advantage of what's been going on dealing with this shooting with our brother Jacob Blake, right? And if you don't know, Jacob Blake was the brother that was shot several times in the back by the police officer. And, of course, it, brought up rioting and more issues that we were already dealing with in the black community. But with this shooting, what I'm seeing is a lot of things going on with this 17-year-old is not making sense, right? And if you have been keeping up with this, you will know what I'm saying, because one minute we see how one group is what they call Antifa, and another group, right? Someone said 7 times, right? And another group is what they would call militias. Meaning what? Armed militias, and what they're doing is going and protecting the community, right? So I looked into this and I was like, well, I mean, this thing it feels kind of strange to me that these militias, these armed militias at that, are going into these neighborhoods and trying to pretty much a counter protest to those protesting police brutality or along the lines of Black Lives Matter, right? So this is where we come in with the young man Kyle Rittenhouse. This is where we come in with him, and his group, which they haven't really named the group that he came with, in Wisconsin. But this is where we come to his part now. Mr. Rittenhouse was a part of a militia group that went to Wisconsin. I believe they are from Illinois. So he went down, him and his group, to protect the property and the people in Kenosha. Why? Because apparently the police there in Kenosha are not pretty much let the citizens loot and burn vehicles. Of course, we don't condone that type of behavior, but the police have stepped back, now allowing these armed militias to go into the communities with their guns and so-called protect the communities. Now, what the result of that, just to give you a short story before I get into what I'm going to get into, is the result of what the police backing off. Kyle Rittenhouse went inside with his little militia group, and he killed 2 people and armed or wounded a third person. So he killed 2 people and wounded a third person. Now, some may say, in which, like I said, we don't want any group to be murdered, killed, or whatever it may be, but he did not kill black people. So I've saw some misinformation out saying that he killed black people, some Black Lives Matter people. That's not true. He killed 2 white men. He killed 2 white men and wounded another one, right? I believe they're white. Well, I know the 2 of them are white men. The third one I'm not for sure, right? But I know they're not black, right? So this shooting take place, and now what you see is the backlash, right? And what we're going to go into today is to show you how these groups, these militia groups, use these opportunities not to bring peace, but opportunity to do what? To bring harm and violence. This is what they want to do. This is their whole objective anyway. And I'm going to show you some proof on that. That this is not a counter protest dealing with them protecting private lives and property. It's all about they want to get out and shoot and kill and have havoc, and they use these opportunities, the incident with Jacob Blake, to do that, to live out their fantasies, to walk in the street and be rogue. Now, this is my own opinion, but this story has plenty different of avenues that you can go into, right? One is according to some videos that I've seen, it looked like Kyle Rittenhouse was being chased by a group the group that people call Antifa. We don't know that. I don't know for sure if that's what was happening, but this is what's been showing on video, that it was self-defense. Now I want to get into some commentary, and I want to see some certain things out with you. And brothers and sisters, y'all, make sure y'all in the chat. Now I'm gonna ask certain questions, and you ask yourself this. The guy is 17 years old, right? And what reason, this is the first question. He's from Illinois. According to what I've been seeing here, why would he come somewhere else that's not his neighborhood and so-called protect the neighborhood? Now, these militias understood that Kenosha was a battleground, for lack of a better word, and they knew that the likelihood of them getting into some type of armed combat was very high. So they went to a place that they knew that it was civil unrest, right? People burning anticipation of being in a shootout, of living their sick fantasies. And this is what you're seeing, because you can't tell me that you're they're not protesting in Illinois. But they went to a hot zone knowing that the likelihood of them getting to some type of armed combat, what they wanted in the first place, because why? Because they're against the Black Lives Matter. They're against any type of justice for black people. And this is what I'm just saying. This is my own opinion. And this is their way of paying it back. This is their way of getting their frustration off to go and do these. See, someone said also, reports show that he worked as a lifeguard there. Also, he was seen cleaning graffiti off schools earlier that day. Maybe so. Maybe so. He works in Kenosha, a small town in Midwest. Anything within an hour is your neighborhood. He worked as a lifeguard that day, then went to clean graffiti and was asked to protect a man's garage. Well, these stories need to be sent. We need to see those stories, because, like I said, that's why I said this story can go. It can go either way, right? Because what you're seeing is one side, like I said, one side you see him running, right, and him protecting a neighborhood that's not his. Someone says if it's within the hour is your neighborhood. Well, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I guess that's personal preference, but what we're seeing is, which it does not make sense to me, is why pick that area? Why pick that area? And it seems to me, and that's why I say it's my own opinion, that they picked that area knowing the consequences. Let me come in and bring guns, and violence. Let me come in and do these things. And him being 17 years old, that's not a good look. Right? But I'm going to read some articles, though. I'm going to actually go into some articles. And he is a obsessive do-gooder, which is why you see him constantly offering medical, even though he's only 17. What 17-year-old spends a weekend clean and that's a good thing. That's a very good thing if he's doing that. That's a very good thing that if he's doing that. Right. It says apparently he was asked to guard the car lot in which the lot damage was taking place. And this is the things, like I said, that they're not showing. And that's why it's a lot of questions that need to be asked. Like, why is it that it was like that? Why is it that he came from another area to this area? It says here, they picked the area because he was asked to protect the car garage. He tried to multitask providing medical protests. Well, yeah. Yeah. So that's why I say this thing is, that's why, but I'm going into some articles dealing with that, and that's why I say this is deeper, and that's why I wanted to bring this out tonight, because it's deeper than what people are saying. Like, this thing is deeper than what people are saying, and get to the bottom of it. Do I believe it's self-defense? I don't know. Like, I have to look at this thing because at this point, what happened before the video that we saw him running down the street? Like, what happened prior to those times? Because we see the guy hit him with the skateboard. We see the guy with the gun. Right. Ultimately, it's a lot of questions. Much as what we say is based on no evidence prior that the counter narrative be the defense statement. They several claims which would be odd to file in court. Yeah. And these are my questions. It's a lot of things going on with this case. Yeah, exactly. So, and that's why I say it's a lot of things going on, because the only thing we see is him running and doing that. My question was, why was he there? According to the comments, he was there because he's a lifeguard there. He was there helping the community or whatever it may be. And like I said, this thing goes beyond just him. Because now you have to ask, where was the police? Like, why did the police decide to abandon the city? Right? And then of course, another story I saw was when those militias came there, they were pretty much applauding, the police was applauding the militias there. They're protecting their community. So apparently the police were just sitting back, allowing them to burn cars. See, but I want to show some things that I did see that we can't really paint the narrative so soon, right? And so that was one of the guys saying Rosenbaum, or however you say his name, that was one of the victims that was killed, is trying to pick a fight earlier, saying shoot me. I did see that. Then like 5 minutes later is chase and gunshots. So I did see that also. That's why I say this is very, because no one has video up to that point. I did hear that coming where he said shoot me inward. Then like 5 minutes later, later is the chase and gunshots. Strange. Now I'm going to show that video. And I want to show what they show us. And that's why I say we have to make sure we understand what we're doing here. That's why when I came on, I said there's several ways that I can look at this story. And usually you can look at something and pretty much see, okay, the outcome of it, right? They actually charged him with, I think, 6 counts, right? 6 counts. Let's see. Approximately 20 minutes before the initial confrontation, a gas station took place. Gas station took place during footage of the gas station the police giving water to a militia. Yeah, they have video of the police giving water to the militia. Yeah, to the militia groups. So I mean, this thing is like, were the police aiding them on to go into armed combat with them? Then look, granted, I have to say this, that there was guns out there. One of the guys had a gun, had a Glock. I don't know which one it was, but one of the guys that was chasing this young man had a gun. I want to say a Glock, or a Glock, maybe some type of Glock pistol that he had in his hand. Also, it was a story that one of those guys shot first. Right? But I want to show you what the video that they're showing us, right? So now, and that's why I was I'm kind of iffy on this story, and that's why I wanted to bring it out to kind of see, well, at this point, what do we have? Black people, and that's why I said earlier, black people cannot say, well, he shot black people, therefore he's racist. Can't say that because he shot 2 white people. No one should be shot and killed. And we don't agree with none of that. I don't care what race you are, whatever. No one should be killed. Right? They definitely showing the militia a lot more respect on a human level than the protesters. Exactly. But we're gonna go into those militias too. You had several different militia groups there at that time, and all of them didn't have the same agenda. So some of them, and we have Facebook posts showing that a majority of those militias wanted a armed shootout. Right? So I want to show this. I do want to show this, and I did find this quite funny. And I'm going to show, if y'all ever seen the movie Don't Be a Menace, I'm going to show you something. It says third victim, not a Glock, look similar to a 22 maybe. He throws it in his hands, but then for some reason twitches and pivots, pointing the gun at Kyle's face. See? Yeah. So now, yeah, this is why I say I find it's strange, like this whole thing. But I'm gonna play this video here real quick, and I'm gonna play it on the screen so y'all can see exactly what I'm talking about here. That some of the stuff that in the comments I did see, and it was kind of weird to me that they would charge him with these murders, 6 counts, not 6 counts of murder, but he has 6 charges dealing with this incident here. All right, so let me let the commercials go by, and then we're gonna go into this video here. All right, so now let me pull it up here. All right, so let's check this video out real quick. This is dealing with the shooting, and mainly the only video we really have that the news is really showing us. All right, so let's go into this and look at this. Hold on, let me turn the audio on. Excuse me, let me turn the audio. Make sure the audio is on. Okay, right there.
Shot 2 fatally during overnight protests.
All right, so let's start it over.
Following NBA players are sitting out tonight's 3 playoff games, an extraordinary move to protest the police shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin. 3 people were shot, 2 fatally during overnight protests, and tonight a 17-year-old from out of town is being held on suspicion of first-degree intentional homicide.
Now, if y'all can see in the video, you see him. Of course, he's running from them. Now, that's why I said before that we don't know what happened, right? But assuming that something did happen, the reason he was running, or like I said, he was running for his life, we see him running here, right? Let me bring it back.
Protests, and tonight
so that's him right there with the AR-15 in the green shirt right here, right? He's running, right?
From out of town is being held on suspicion of first-degree intentional homicide. CBS's Mola Lenghi reports tonight from Kenosha.
The shootings erupted just before midnight. The shooter, alleged to be 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse. It allegedly began when he shot one person in the head at this boarded-up business. then fired on protesters in the middle of the street as they tried to subdue him.
He just shot them!
The gunman is then seen walking past multiple law enforcement vehicles with his hands raised, assault rifle in tow, leaving the scene without being stopped. Today, Rittenhouse was taken into custody in his hometown of Antioch, Illinois, just 15 miles from Kenosha, and is being held on first-degree intentional homicide charges.
2 people are dead. This is not a police action. This is not the action, I believe, of those who set out to do protests.
Earlier in the day, the suspected shooter says he was there to guard the community.
So you guys are full on ready to defend the property?
Yes, we are.
Wednesday evening, Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul released the first details into his department's investigation into the Jacob Blake shooting. Kaul.
So that's all I wanted to show on that. That's the video that we pretty much see and we have. And like I said, Lee Myers, send it if you have a link. Put the link in the chat, and we can look at those other angles. But like I said, the only one that they show us on the news is him running back and falling, and you see the guy with the skateboard. If you paid attention to the video, you saw him with the skateboard getting ready to hit him, and that's when he shot him. Right? That's when he shot one of the guys. Right? So this is what we have, but it's still disturbing to me that some of the other things that I'm going to bring out and show dealing with this case, right? Because like I said, it's strange that it says on Twitter there's a lot of raw videos. Someone on field team who put the timeline articles together, there are videos of Roland chasing him from 2 angles. See? Now this is going to be key into his defense, right? Now, what might get him is what? First, if the curfew. Now, were they all violating curfew? Because now, if he's violating curfew, according to the law up there, is he won't be able to use self-defense because he was violating curfew. That's what they're saying. So he might not be able to use self-defense because he was in violation. Likewise, those other groups, they were in violation of the curfew. So we have to look at that angle too. Right, it says then if you notice Kyle is being chased by that guy yelling in the gas station, only now he has his shirt on his face. The suspect, to me, while dressed like a ninja and chase a guy with a gun. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I found that to be strange too. Why in the hell would you chase somebody with a gun? Like, I don't get that. Well, I wouldn't chase anybody with a gun, especially an AR-15. No gun, period. I don't care if he had a 22. Listen, why are you chasing this guy? But one thing that I did find funny, I have to put that out there. I did find funny how when he was, look at this part. Now, and we have to use race into this because black people would have never got to do this. Watch this. The police came on the scene and he just politely walked, and according to them, he went all the way home, and then the police went to his house and arrested him. Look at this. Look at it.
Seen walking past multiple law enforcement vehicles with his hands raised,
with his
assault
gun,
rifle in tow, leaving the scene without being stopped. Today,
leaving the scene without being stopped. So that's kind of funny to me because now, be honest, that was a black person that would have been down on the ground, especially got a gun. He walked right past the police. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. It kind of reminded me. Yeah, they say, yeah, that's absolutely insane. I mean, and you get calls, and the police got a call of a shooting. And this man, he has a gun right here with his hands up. He said, cops are really stupid. Agreed. I mean, I just don't get that. I mean, shouldn't he have been the first person you take down, regardless of you? I don't know what's going on. I know it's a shooting. You have a gun. I mean, 1 + 1 is 2. So I did find that funny. It says, yeah, realize in most small towns they aren't cops. Yeah. But I find this funny. I'm gonna show a clip what it reminded me of. Let me show you a clip what it reminded me of, and it's funny because this is how it always is. It's how it always is. Now I don't know if he. To me, if from what I'm seeing, I can say it might be self-defense. But my point is, what they're going to have to prove in court is why was he there? Why was he there? according to like some of the comments he had. Right, I'll be cuffing him too, just in case, so I can see what's going on. You have a gun. I got a report of shooting. I'm just gonna let me just detain you for my investigation. Right, I'm just gonna detain you till I find out what's going on. But then, like I said, I want to show this funny video though, real quick. And if y'all haven't seen "Don't Be a Menace," it's funny. I want to show. I hope they don't give me a copyright strike, but I have to show this. This is what it reminded me of. That that sometimes you can focus too much on one. You already have in your mind who's guilty of something, right? Oh, let me see. Sorry about the commercials. You already have in your mind who's guilty or who's not, right? And then we kind of have that tunnel vision. But watch this. Look at this. It's funny. Listen to this.
Check them. Hurry up and buy.
So meanwhile, while they're watching, the black man and the white guy watch. It's funny.
Hey! You dropped something.
So I wanted just to show you that because that's what it reminded me of. It was like he just walked calmly right past the police with a gun, and nobody thought to stop him and maybe check and talk to him and see what's going on, since he had a weapon, since you got a report of shooting in the area, 2 people shot or 3 people shot, you would think, right? But sometimes common sense is not common. So, but I want to go into some articles that I had on this story, right? I want to go into some articles. Now, I did find this funny too, that whether people agree or not, this is very funny to me. Now, according to The Sun, I want to read this article here. The U.S. Sun, right? It says, shooter stash, outrage at student and group. Christian raised money for Kyle Rittenhouse, 17, who killed 2 Kenosha protesters, right? It says a group of Christians have raised almost $250,000 for Kyle Rittenhouse, the teen suspected of killing 2 people in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Listen, I just wanted to bring this out because I just want to, and y'all can leave your comments in there on what you think about this. Should he receive funding for this shooting? Should he not? Right? But I'm just going to read the story. It says, in a separate fundraiser, College Republicans United, CRU, a student group of Arizona State University, has announced that it will raise the legal defense of Kyle Rittenhouse. Wow, he says 350 now. Wow. Oh, wow. $350,000 for a legal defense. Wow. So let's see. On August 27, CRU tweeted to say half of the funds he raises for the year will be dedicated to the Rittenhouse Defense Fund. It says he does not deserve his entire life destroyed because of the actions of violent anarchists during a lawless riot, the group said in a tweet. Do y'all agree with that? Do y'all agree with that? A page on Give, Send, Go, a website which describes itself as a free Christian crowdfunding site, has raised 200. Wow, his lawyer is free? Wow. So what is he going to do with the... Oh, wow. Well. So on a page, Give, Send, Go, a website which describes itself as a free Christian crowdfunding site, has raised $245,585 of its only $200,000 goal. So and according to what we said in the comments, he has $350,000, $150,000 more through more than 5,600 donations. Right? It says, it is false to me. They rush to put a false narrative, leaving it to YouTube to put together and the internet to this. Yeah. And you know the internet does what it does. Yep. Exactly. Kyle Rittenhouse just defended himself from a brutal attack by multiple members of the far leftist group Antifa. Right? The experience was undoubtedly a brutal one, and he was forced to take 2 lives to defend his own, the fundraiser reads. Now, Kyle is being unfairly charged with 1 murder by a DA who seems determined only to capitalize on a political angle on the situation. The situation was clearly self-defense, and Kyle and his family was undoubtedly need money to pay the legal fees. Let's give back to someone who bravely tried to defend his community. I mean, now, I don't know. It says, is anyone else legitimately confused as to why Christians are raising funds to support Kyle Rittenhouse? Asked one Twitter user. So I guess they have some opposition here. Let's see here. Another added, Christian site raising $200K for Kyle Rittenhouse. What kind of Christian support people who kill others? Right? Let's keep looking at this. Let's keep looking at this. Hold on. I want to see something here. Let's go back to the story real quick, right? So, gunman Kyle Rittenhouse, 17, allegedly opened fire into a crowd of protesters demonstrating against Jacob Blake's death. Now, you see what the media put. You see what they're saying. They saying he just opened up fire. He just started shooting in a crowd and killed 2 people. That was the initial story. That was the initial story, that this guy just started shooting, and you know, of course, I knew it was probably more than that. He just started shooting into a crowd of people, and he shot 2 people and killed them. Right? Rittenhouse allegedly killed Anthony Huber and Joseph Rosenbaum, excuse me if I'm saying those names wrong, and injured another man in the arm after spraying bullets at demonstrators. Authorities say. So authorities are saying he's in these crowds and just shooting people. Ultimately, my goal is to show you that what they're trying to do ultimately, and people might not agree or not, this is another way for them to bring in martial law. Whether it's his fault or not, this is another way for them to take your guns away, to make it a police state, right? To put us under one world government. Is coming. And what's going to happen? People are going to agree with it because they're so scared to walk out of their house. And listen, and I don't agree with Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter they start a lot of issues too. They're instigators. That's the word I'm looking for. So the Black Lives Matter groups are instigators in this too. So all these groups are coming together to do what? For the ultimate goal of one world government, one world order, police state. That's where it's going. It's where it's going to. Right? It says that's why the Antifa idiots told them that's this side politically, so they ran with it, right? That's why Antifa was designed to be a counter protesters. And to go against the Black Lives Matter, to go against pretty much any protest. They just are like a lone group out just doing antagonizing people. What is the point of Antifa? No one knows. But they fall in that same category as Black Lives Matter. So, I mean, you can't trust either side. And you have to understand what the bigger picture is what? The one world government police state. That's what they want. That's what they're aiming for. And to take your guns away. See? It is not the guns' fault. It's the system. What was the police? What was the Kenosha Police Department? Why are they giving water to these armed militias? Why? It seems like to me they was promoting what happened. So if they want to say Kyle Rittenhouse, Kyle is responsible, the police should have some type of responsibility in this as well. Exactly. Basement dwellers. Yeah, exactly. They only come out, Antifa only come out when it's what? It's time to cause problems, riots, right? To burn up cars and all these things. That's when they come out. And then they point at the Black Lives Matter. Oh, this Black Lives Matters did it. Black Lives Matter people. Let me continue with this article real quick. So according to the news, Rittenhouse allegedly killed Anthony Huber and Joseph here and injured another man after just spraying bullets at demonstrators, authorities said. So this scares me because if they are willing to do this to a young white boy, a young white kid, obviously knowing this, according to what we're saying is, according to what we have, is this is not what happened. That the group, Joseph, and some people say Joseph was a part of the Antifa group. He went up to them and shoot me, nigga. I saw that too. So, like, yeah, exactly. They're not discouraging the militia. They're allowing this anarchy to happen in their neighborhoods. They're allowing people to burn up cars. Right? So that will be my thing. I don't know. I'm in the middle right now because I it's certain things that I don't agree with either side. Like I don't agree with the militia side with Kyle Rittenhouse. I don't agree with him. I believe he's too young to be out there. What if he lost his life? He's too young to be out there with a weapon. He can protest. There's nothing wrong with protesting and protecting those things, but I just believe that it should have been more responsible. Like and the only people I saw shooting was him. What was the rest of the militia? What was the rest of the people when they were chasing him down? What was the rest of the group that he was with? You see, I don't. Where were the rest of the people? But I want to show you on the militia side. We have to. I want to. Let me put this out there too. A lot of people are bringing up, I think Joseph was maybe a sex offender, I want to say. And that's that story, so don't be surprised if you hear that. That he was convicted and served 12 and a half years, I believe, in prison. So he was a registered sex offender. Should we use that to judge him? Probably not, right? But that information is out there. But let me keep going. It says, photos of Rittenhouse surfaced on Twitter as he was seen walking the streets of Wisconsin with an AR-15 weapon. On Wednesday, the 17-year-old from Antioch, Illinois, was arrested and charged with first-degree intentional homicide. The Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel noted that based on Wisconsin law, he has been charged as an adult. Wow. Yeah, this is what happens when a bunch of idiots get together. Some other idiots opposing the first group of idiots get together and the sheriff asked for popcorn. Exactly. They just get together and just chaos in the streets. Right? Yeah, that's exactly what happened. So I just wanted to read. So I wanted to show you in that article what the news is saying, and then what we're seeing in videos. Videos are really not showing what the news is saying. Is that this guy was. Remember, what we saw in the video in the news was him running and then shooting. That's when he killed those two people. They make it seem like he was just standing there and just started firing his weapon. That wasn't what happened. It wasn't what happened. So it's some issues I have on both sides. But let's continue. See, and that's why I say, and that's why sometimes it takes YouTube investigators to get to the truth. Because the police, it's going to be easy for the police just to say, just convict him and lock him up. Because they don't want to do the investigation. First of all, they don't want to look bad. They're not going to want to drop charges because they don't want to look like, they don't want to be wrong. So they're going to find all they can. They're going to find all they can to do something to lock him up. Right? And that's why I say this is the thing with being 17 years old, that now your whole life, the rest of his life, he's going to have to live out this incident here. That's why I say he might have been too young to be participating in this type of foolishness. But at the same time, I get it. You know, I was young once, and I understand you want to protect and do things for your neighborhood, but sometimes you have to be smart about it. This is not a good example. You don't go into a war zone, especially with guns, because one of these groups that are paid by the world powers, the powers that be, are going to do what? They're going to try you. They're going to instigate you to do something. Yeah, it don't make sense. So from the gas station, it says, from the gas station, yelling, shoot me, then he ties his shirt over his face and finds Kyle and chases him. Yeah, I mean, that's self-defense. That's self-defense. So why is the news saying, let me show you what the news is saying. The news is saying, Rittenhouse allegedly killed Anthony Uber and Joseph Rosenbaum and injured another man in the arm after spraying bullets at demonstrators. What does that sound like? It just sounds like he just went crazy and he just wanted an opportunity to shoot, and he started shooting people. Now, yeah, please send the link on that. Please send the link on that, and we can check that out. Definitely. Now, make sure y'all like the video, share it on your social media, please, so we can we want to get this message out. And if you have any information on this case, share it. Like this is, like I said, this topic, this is an open discussion where we interact with people in the comments. So if it's something that you see, if you something that you know about this case, share it. But now I want to check something. I want to check it. So yeah, his renting his money is up there now. It's at $350. $371,000 he's raised so far. $371,000 he's raised so far. Now, we have to show you this. We have to say, I want to bring out another point. I would like to see more support for unarmed black men being killed by the police or shot by the police than the same support as Kyle is receiving as a defense. Meaning, especially those brother black men that have been being shot in, like Jacob Blake. I know he has over $2 million, right? Wow, that's some money and a free lawyer. That's what I say. How is it? What defense? If he has the lawyer's gonna work for free. So where's his money going? $371,000. They only asked for 200. 186% complete. See? So yeah, that's a lot of money. Send Maddie Cash Gaming. Send the link. You said this girl breaks down the timeline really good. Yeah, send that link so we can check it out. You know, put in a link so people can check it out after the video or whatever, or on your, we'll check it out and might do another video dealing with this, because this case is going to be ongoing. It's like stuff is going to start coming out. But yeah, I see that $371,000. Now I would like to see this type of effort when unarmed black men are killed by the police. That'd be nice to see that too. Right? So there have to be some type of balance here. Right, right. Like pennies. Exactly. So now a lot of people are mad at Tucker Carlson, right, for his statement he made in where he said where people felt like he was defending Kyle Rittenhouse. Now I'm going to play the video that what he said. It's like 30 seconds. So I'm going to play the video. Now, me personally, let me not tell you what personally. Let me just let you listen to it yourself. And you tell me if you feel like he was defending Kyle Rittenhouse, right? So listen to this.
We do know why it all happened, though. Kenosha has devolved into anarchy because the authorities in charge of the city abandoned it. People in charge, from the governor of Wisconsin on down, refused to enforce the law. They stood back and they watched Kenosha burn. So are we really surprised that looting and arson accelerated to murder? How shocked are we that 17-year-olds with rifles decided they had to maintain order when no one else would?
Now, if you heard that, what are your thoughts? Because like I said, I don't see him taking up for him. What I see is that I see him blaming the police for allowing it to get this far in the first place. That's what I hear, Tucker Carlson saying here. I see him saying that the police allow it to get this far, and this 17-year-old kid was caught in the crossfire of it. I don't necessarily see him taking up for it. Maybe someone else, maybe somebody else they hearing something that I don't hear that. Yeah, he might be justifying, but I don't think he's defending it. I don't think he might be justifying. Now you want to, so if he's justifying, I want to say that, I mean, I guess you can say he might be in a sense justifying, but what he's more saying he's blaming the police, which right. That's why I said earlier that if anybody should be in trouble, it should be the police too. They sit there and allow their city. They are paid to protect and serve. Right. Okay. That's it. So y'all check out the link. It says Tracking Joseph Rosenbaum by Chassis Long. Okay, I can't. Okay, yeah. So that's good enough right there. I'll find it and put it in the description so people can check it out. His whereabouts, and I'm gonna check it out myself and look at it and see what's really going on here, right? But back to Tucker Carlson, I don't see him so what defending it. I see him saying that the police failed the city. Now, a lot of people, we have the tendency of wanting to blame the guy. Like, we want to blame Kyle Rittenhouse, but why did it get to that point? How did it get to that point to where armed militias, whatever group he's a part of, how did it get to the point to where it took a young man, like a 17-year-old, to go with an armed militia and felt he need to protect the community? That's what we have to figure out, right? Now, I want to see something real quick. I want to see something else real quick. Now, another issue people going to have a problem with, because Kenosha demographics is 79% white, black or African American 11%, two or more races 3.99%, other race 2.80%. So people going to have a lot of issues with that. Oh, he's only protecting white communities. I wanted to look at that too. So the demographics of Kenosha is 80% white. So that's going to be another issue that people are going to bring out. The demographics. Watch what I tell you. The demographics of Kenosha, Wisconsin. So watch it. Watch what I'm telling you. But I want to jump to this other thing, right? Dealing with, I try to somewhat be unbiased. You know, I try to see the other side. Like I said, when I came into this was a very complicated issue, because really the news only going to show you the agenda that they're trying to push, right? We haven't, like I said, we have other sources in the comments that's showing you other avenues, right? And I don't ever want to be that person to jump on something because I feel a certain way, right? Because easily this could have turned into a thing, especially if they were black people being killed. It could have turned into a thing where it was race. He killed them because they were black people, right? And listen, black people, you're gonna get mad. We need to stop always jumping on the black thing now, because sometimes we're guilty of doing something too. Sometimes we instigate things, and then we run behind the black thing. And I spoke about this last week. That we jump around about the black thing, and then what happens? Right? So people start people that are unjust start unjustly being convicted because, you know, even with this police thing with George Floyd, I believe that was absolutely wrong. That he should not have put his knee on his neck. Do I think it was race? I don't know. Who knows the mind of that guy? Who knows he was thinking in his mind, yeah, I'm going to kill this black man. Who knows that? But I know one thing is, I knew if it was a black person that done this, a lot of black people would have had an issue with it. But since he killed white people, black people are not really saying much. I was thinking he was a school shooter type dude, dude too. He made a poor choice to show up, and it's lucky. Yeah, exactly. And that's my whole point too. He's way too young, and according to his background, he wanted to be a police officer. So that's one of those things. You know how it is. Those type of police officers, they gun ho. They want to shoot their guns. They want to be, and so he got caught up in that thing. But like I was saying though, we get so caught up in, well, if Kyle Rittenhouse would have shot black people, it would have been all these things. And that's why I said we have to be fair. We have to be right, because this should get attention too. Right? It shouldn't just be a thing where this guy was just shooting in the crowd. We need to know the truth. Right? Now, I want to put the shoes on the other foot. Now, if this was a black guy, oh yeah, he would have been guilty. Oh, he's guilty. He shot. That story that we saw, it would have been that. He shot, and that's what it was. He went there to cause violence and all. It is a double standard in America, if you have not known. But me, like I said, I'm being unbiased with this story. And he's a kid. But I know if it was a black person, Hispanic person, then yeah, it would have been a different story. It would have been just, and I'm looking at him. They convicted him. They pretty much, he's not even with the trial yet, and the public opinion has already convicted this, and he's a young white kid. Imagine if it was a black Hispanic person. That shot white people. Or if Kyle Rittenhouse would have shot two black people, it would have been a bigger issue. It would have been way bigger. It would have been a race thing. I don't see that now. And I do find it kind of funny with black people. Nobody's talking about it. Yeah, but he might not have made it home. Exactly. He wouldn't have made it home. If it was a black person, he would have not made it home. And he definitely wouldn't have walked past the police. I mean, he strolled past the police like he was a part of the police. But I want to read some stuff on him. I want to read some things on here what I saw in this article on Yahoo, right? So I want to read this here. All right, so let's read this. I want to read this. So check this out. It says Dylan. Now this is the news, right? This is the news. This is media, right? It says Dylan Roof and Kyle Rittenhouse are proof that racism won't just age out. Now they comparing Kyle Rittenhouse to Dylan Roof. Everybody know who Dylan Roof was, a known racist white supremacist who went into a church and killed African church and killed black people. Now they comparing Dylan Roof to Kyle Rittenhouse. I just want to show you how they do in the news. In the second, if you're a juror and you're picked to be on a jury, right? These are things that you're seeing before your mind is already being programmed to think of something before you get into trial. So that's why I always said the court system is not exactly right, because your livelihood or you being innocent or guilty is based off the mind or the perception of other people of how they have, or the perception they have of you, the jurors. So media is always out to program you prior to. So before they go into court, these jurors are going to always see all these things, and their mind's going to already be persuaded, unless he go to court and he opt out to have a jury, which I probably would do. I don't want a jury because they're going to be persuaded on the stories that they see in the mainstream media, and they're going to find me guilty of public opinion. Now, according to what I'm seeing, the majority of people in the public saying he's guilty without even knowing all the facts. If he was a black person, who walked by the same gun who didn't shoot anyone, probably still would be he still would have made it home. I mean, you saw stories like that with that brother that was in the car, and he told the cop, I have a weapon, I'm going to get it for you, and he still ended up getting shot. So we see examples like this all the time, and this is why we're saying these things. So we see those examples all the time. But now you see on this story, Dylan Roof and Kyle Rittenhouse are proof that racism won't just age out. Now, personally, I didn't see anything racist that Kyle Rittenhouse said. I'm not defending him because I'm going to go into some things later, but I just want to show you how the media can persuade your mind to think a certain way. Because everybody remember Dylan Roof. So if you hear Dylan Roof and Kyle Rittenhouse in the same sentence, what are you going to think about Kyle Rittenhouse? That he was a white supremacist racist. But guess what? He didn't kill any black people. He killed 2 white people. Yeah, Brother Philando Castile, that's his name, right? He didn't kill black people. Is that to say he couldn't be a racist? Because there's some images of him at a Donald Trump rally. I don't know. He still could be a closeted racist, but because you know what happens, soon as something happens, people start looking at backgrounds and try to find information on this person to find something about him. No one has presented any information or evidence say he was a racist. He might be a closeted racist. He might be like in the woods, like they do, but he killed 2 white men. Now let's read. I want to show you what's said. It says here, I want to start where it says 3. So they're talking about the protests, how they was met with rubber bullets and all those things, tear gas and all those things, right? And it says 3 days later, protesters in Kenosha were also met by Kyle Rittenhouse, a teen who traveled from neighboring Illinois to become a frontline mercenary for white supremacy. See? Yeah, he was. He had to have been a really good shot. If he shot somebody in the head and right in the chest, yeah, he was a pretty good. That's a pretty good shot. So, and no disrespect to the dead or to the victims, but I mean, when you put yourself in that type of harm, you have to expect that to happen, especially from what we're seeing. Why would you run after someone with a gun? I mean, I don't get it. So according to Yahoo, it says 3 days later, protesters in Kenosha were also met with Kyle Rittenhouse, a teen who traveled from neighboring Illinois to become a frontline mercenary for white supremacy. Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah, the other guy, one of the other victims, the one that just has the wound in the arm, Gage, got his bicep blown off when he approached with his handgun too. Yeah, I mean, some stuff just, yeah. So they said he was become a frontline mercenary for white supremacy. The 17-year-old shown in the video brandishing an AR-15 is charged with killing 2 protesters, Joseph Jojo Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber, and injured a third man, Gage Grosskreutz, who is expected to survive. Not only did Rittenhouse evade arrest despite protesters pointing him out to police as the shooter, he also wouldn't be apprehended until he went back across state lines and in his hometown of Antioch, Illinois, the following morning. Days later, the president even defended him. Now, you got President Trump who defended him. The shooting and the subsequent handling of the crime has led many in mainstream media to wonder what could bring a young man to such violence. See how they talking? So if you're a juror, and I'm not saying either way from him, I'm not saying I'm for him or against this case. I'm unbiased. I want to know what happened. But you see how the media can persuade you to think a certain way. They already compared him to what? Dylan Roof. Then he said they joined a white supremacy, white mercenary group. He joined, what it says here, he became a frontline mercenary for a white supremacy group. I didn't see no information on that. Maybe that's some new information. Maybe somebody has that information somewhere else. I didn't see that information. Exactly, because he killed white people. It's a frontline white supremacist who is also colorblind, as we will find out. Yeah. If he was a white supremacist, I mean, he shot 2 white people. But this is the play on the mind, and that's why I saw some black people saying the same thing, like, man, he was a racist and all that. I mean, I'm like, well, he didn't shoot any black people. I didn't see that. Okay, so it says not only did Rittenhouse evade, okay, we read that. Days later, the president even defended him. The shooting and the subsequent handling of the crime has led many mainstream to wonder what could bring a young man to such violence and why officers on site wouldn't bring him in. Unfortunately, those asking those questions have yet again underestimated white supremacy and its regenerative nature. So they saying this is white supremacy. Rittenhouse, a self-identified expiring cop, drove to Kenosha armed and ready to defend property in a community that wasn't even his own. Now, I'm showing the flip side. Now they're saying that he's a white supremacy. He went to a community that wasn't his, right? And it says, according to interviews with former classmates by Vice News, and I quote, his clothes were often branded with pro-police slogans, and he carried a Blue Lives Matter phone case. Rustin Shesky, the officer who shot Blake in his back, is also on record having always wanted to be a member of law enforcement after watching his grandfather work as an officer for more than 3 decades. In order to understand these men's behavior, we need to understand what they have been socializing to believing is the job description of a cop and how society has empowered them to act on those beliefs. The history of policing in this country has been one of stifling dissent and using brute force to maintain racialized status quo. I agree with that. Yeah. Wow, it's like 3 or 4 different narratives. That's what I'm saying. That's why I say. That's why when I started this story, I said I don't know which one to believe. One side said he was self-defense. One side said he went there with a white supremacist group. See. Right. That's the victim, and yeah, the wrong place, wrong time. That ultimately, yeah, that's what happens. The victims and the suspect were at the wrong place at the wrong time. And like I said earlier, there's no place for a 17-year-old. There's really no place for any person at that time. Listen, I'm not against violence or people. I'm not against people. I'm against people who destroy their own neighborhoods. But what I do have to say is that since Kenosha is 70-something% white, you're going to get responses like that. You're not going to go and cause violence and destruction in white neighborhoods. Now, I don't know if this was a white neighborhood, but assuming that this place is 80% white, probably was a white area. And you're not going into white areas. You might do that stuff in L.A. or in the hood somewhere else, but you're not going to do it in Kenosha where the population is 80% white. So we shouldn't have expected any other response. See? So according to them, he was a white. So now there's another narrative saying he was a white supremacist. But I don't understand why that would matter, because he didn't shoot any black people. But this is to play on your mind, brothers and sisters, that to show you, well, see, he shot black people, or to make you think he shot black people, right? And nor does this mention anything about him being a counter-protester, meaning they say, oh, he's a counter-protester missionary militia group, meaning he was against the protesting of Black Lives Matter. It doesn't say that. What it says is he went there to defend property that people were destroying. Now it says, let's keep reading. It says, in order to understand these men's behavior, we read that, the status quo, that media has also glamorized police work as necessity for, and I quote, our safety has only further cemented the urge that people like Rittenhouse and Shesky feel to protect the authority, especially at the expense of black lives. I don't get it. This story, so he didn't kill any black people. So why is saying, especially at the expense of black lives? Rittenhouse didn't shoot black people. Let me show you the victims. Because I find this story kind of weird too. That's why I wanted to bring it out. How can you have one incident with 3, 4, 5 different narratives? So when we say stuff as black people, like, man, they lying on me, they not telling the full story. You see, listen, look at this, look what's going on with this story. Blatant cover-ups, blatant lies, right? And you have to understand, if a lawyer comes and says he's going to represent you for free, he has a strong emphasis that he's going to win the case. He has strong evidence that he's going to win the case. So now let me show you the victims. These 2 guys here are the victims, like white people to me. So when they called him a white supremacist, and compared him to Dylan Roof, but these are his victims. I mean, it's rough, man. Like it's really rough. You know, these things are unfortunate. No one should have their lives. But when you put yourself in these positions, brothers and sisters, you have to expect these things to happen, right? You have a 17-year-old run around with a weapon. I mean, what do you think is going to happen? Some of us are grown men and we're not mature enough with weapons. So he's a 17-year-old, and just imagine. I mean, he's still a kid. All right. So now let me go back to that story. Now, going back to the story, check this out. It says that Rittenhouse was pretty much, let's go back to the top. It says Rittenhouse, Dylan Roof, and Kyle Rittenhouse are proof that racism won't just age out. So comparing them to Dylan Roof. Color of Change, one of the nation's leading racial organizations, recently released a report normalizing injustice, the dangerous misinterpretation that define television's scripted crime genre, right? Exploring the idea of cop agenda which justifies police misconduct as collateral damage and delivering community safety. While the study talks generally about who shapes the narratives, disclaimer, predominantly white men, and how often people of color and specifically black people are depicted as dangerous, we can and should take it a step further when thinking about how young white boys are being indoctrinated to become future detectives, stablers, abusing power. Now, I do agree with that. Because once I started to understand, so he want to be a police officer and he's out here doing this, I thought, well, he's going to be that same type of police officer that you see with the Jacob Blake case. The same type of white officer you see that's quickly pulling the gun without thinking. Right? So I did, because, I mean, just not saying he went there during the protest to shoot anyone, but just the fact that he's so engaged in that type of behavior so young, it shows that his police career might have been in danger. He might have been those, and we all see those type of cops where those cops, soon as you walk up to them, they got their hand on their gun. Those are the most dangerous police officers you can run into. Those are the ones that shoot first, ask questions later. Right? So them are the type of police officers we have to watch out for. And looking at his background or who he was and what he wanted to do, he was in danger to being that type of police officer. Right? So now, everything about our country, from television, films to video games, has taught young people that officers must be listened to no matter what. The kind of person who aspires to the amount of authority and blind allegiance is then trained and coached into evading accountability and justifying their action with racist tropes. And in a country with literal monuments erected to enslavers and mass murderers, we have all but loaded the gun for Rittenhouse and other disgruntled white teens. Like, this is a lot to say, disgruntled white teens. Rittenhouse is really the rule, not only the exception, and everything he's 17 in his 17-year-old life has taught him has led him to this moment. Had it not happened now, would he have been the next George Zimmerman a decade later? Or would he have succeeded in becoming an officer and then been awarded with pensions and paid administrative leave for killing people on the job? He did exactly what he was raised to do, and therein lies our social problem. Now, I don't know. You see the narrative being placed on him. So imagine a juror reading this and what type of impression they would get from him. This is from Yahoo Life, so it looks credible. Right? It looks credible. It says, I watched the video again, that girl, and I'm starting to think Rosenbaum is the fuel, Kyle is the ignition, right? And the crowd is the mixture of making the perfect recipe for this book. Listen, that's why I say, I agree with that. I don't know what side to take, but I do agree with that analogy that all you need is a light and gas together, and something's gonna explode. And you can't use one without the other. And that's why I said he shouldn't have been there. Right? He shouldn't have been there, because if he wasn't there, that issue would have not happened. That wouldn't have happened. And now now people are saying that he's a racist. And he's a racist because he shot 2 white people. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know it. Maybe I don't know the background of those 2 white people that he shot. Maybe they don't identify as being white men, but I just wanted to show you this. Racism will not fade out as long as this country, as long as the last, racism will not fade out like the last song at a dance party. Right? So I don't see any evidence. Like I said, what they're saying is, that he's a racist. They compared him to Dylan Roof. Let's read down here. Lastly, we must demand a concerted effort to keep digital platforms from becoming radicalization centers for white supremacists and hate groups. These beliefs do not exist in a vacuum and then can be turned into actions in virtual spaces. Social media is no longer novel, and its impact is clear. We must begin the process of regulating the ways violence is organized right under our noses. From Dylan Roof to Nicholas Cruz to the white supremacists of Charlottesville to Kyle Rittenhouse, racists always pass the baton. Wow. So according to them, he was a racist. I just wanted to show you why I said this case was confusing. You see why it's confusing? You see why it's different narratives? You see why you can't blatantly just choose one because you might be wrong? Because there's so many questions you must ask. Why is a 17-year-old there? What was his point? Why is he armed? It's so many factors that goes into this thing, right? Now, another thing, I want to show you this. Snopes.com. Now, allegedly, this is one of the militia groups that was there that night. I'm not saying that Kyle Rittenhouse was a part of this, but it was, like I said, it was a bunch of different groups there protecting, and I quote, protecting property and lives in the citizens there in Kenosha, Wisconsin. So Snopes here has, when can we open fire? Question mark. Now, of course, this is a quote from a Facebook post that was posted within this Wisconsin Liberty Militia group, right? It says, when can we open fire? Facebook group with self-proclaimed military members made violent plans for Kenosha. This is the flip side. See, this is the flip side. Some groups planned on causing violence. That's my stance. That's why I say both sides I don't agree with, because I know some of them use this as an opportunity to promote violence, to promote an article. That's what it was all about. Some people we have an itching to want to shoot and cause violence and kill other people. This was the opportunity for them to do that. It says a handful of the group's participants claim to be members of the U.S. Army. Let's read some of this. Numerous Facebook users were branded themselves as armed vigilantes protecting Kenosha, Wisconsin, shared posts justifying the actions of Kyle Rittenhouse, a white teenager charged with killing 2 people and wounding another during a protest against police brutality in the lakeside city, and threatened to start violence after his arrest, a Snopes investigation has found. So this militia group was in support of Mr. Rittenhouse, and also said that after his arrest, they threatened to start more violence. This is the flip side of it, right? Despite the social media sites ban on such discourse by militias and white supremacists, Facebook accounts used a private group named Wisconsin Liberty Militia to discuss plans that included opening fire on any, quote, and I quote, opening fire on, I quote, anyone that starts rioting, end quote, and setting suspicious vehicles on fire. So they said anybody that's rioting, they're going to open fire on. Does that sound like you're going to protect life and property? This is what the defense and prosecutors have to look at. What group was he walking with? What group did he go into? What was their beliefs? What was their purpose of being there? Because some groups like this one says, when can we open fire? Listen to this. Under the guise of trying to prevent looting and property destruction, the Wisconsin Liberty Militia Facebook group included at least 4 people who claimed to be members of the U.S. Army, Wisconsin Army National Guard, or the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs on their Facebook profiles. Additionally, at least one other user said he did Army shit, excuse my French, while simultaneously being a member of the group, and one of the group's supposed founders told Milwaukee journalists he was a veteran. So the people that's in this group are, right, discussing violence for violence is like an eye for an eye. Just gonna make the world blind. Yeah. Exactly what it is. Now let's keep going. What follows is everything we know about the former online militia group, its members, and its threats of violence on the heels of the alleged killings of Rittenhouse, who captured in footage carrying a military-style rifle and marching alongside members of various armed groups shortly before shooting. Several fringe Facebook pages, in addition to the Wisconsin Liberty Militia Group, appear to be dedicated to organizing such gatherings, despite the social media platform's recently expanded policy prohibiting discourse that celebrates or advocates for violence. Right? So now let's look at what Facebook. Now remember, let's before I go into, let me read this next paragraph. We should note here that the Wisconsin Liberty Militia Facebook group is no longer active, though it had evaded Facebook's detection for what should have been prohibited content, as outlined by the platform's dangerous individuals and organization policy for days, even not weeks. So now we have to ask Facebook. Was this designed by Facebook to allow them to plan this violence, this destruction in Kenosha? Because Facebook is usually good by removing things that are harmful. Now, if you post anything about LGBT, they remove it right then. But I find it funny that they were organizing through Facebook and it took them weeks to remove the content. Is that not strange? If you say something about LGBT on Facebook, it's removed immediately, right then. Boom. You got 5 minutes. If it's something against their policies, they remove it. But this platform was allowed to stay up for days, not even weeks, which allowed them time to plan this attack that happened in Kenosha. So also we have to blame Facebook. Let's keep reading. Now watch this. The Facebook group was originally established on June 1st, 2020. So this group was been going on since June of 2020. 1 week after the death of George Floyd, a black man who died after a white Minneapolis police officer knelt on his neck for roughly 9 minutes, and amid chaotic protests worldwide against unjust killings by police. During these protests, a separate countergroup of Americans emerged, one that considered it its duty to dispatch armed men at the protest sites to try to circumvent property destruction or theft by people outraged over police brutality and others. So they thought it upon themselves to make these militia groups to go out and protect lives and property. And I quote when I say that. Do I believe all these militia groups had a good purpose? No, I don't. I believe majority of them were dealing with white supremacy. I don't know for sure the one that Kyle Rittenhouse was a white supremacist group, but I want to show you how the news is going to put him in go ahead and put him in a certain light without even no evidence. So when black people say that they stereotype us, they do these things, you have to believe what we're saying, because I'm showing you a case of that right now. See? So now let's keep going. Now it says this. The country is polarizing. We must be organized and ready for the possible coming of the second civil war. This is what the militia groups. Remember I said earlier, the whole point of this whole thing is to establish a world government, and the government is allowing these groups to clash with citizens, right? clash with citizens to do what? To bring in a police state to take away your weapons. What are we doing? We're falling right into it. This is the whole point. This is the purpose. It's to take your weapons, to turn this into a police state, to bring in martial law. And if those that believe in the Bible, this is what the Bible speaks about these things. Right? So it says the country is polarizing. We must be organized and ready for the possible coming of a second civil war. What is the first civil war? When North and South fought against each other. Not an outside force, but Americans, so-called Americans. The North and the South fought against each other. So they're looking for a war that's going to be inside the boundaries of America. This is what they're looking for. Right. It does suck because it is enticing young people, black and white, to participate in these things. Now, only thing that people are going to understand now is violence. The only thing people's going to understand now is violence. And I do find it funny that we that subscribe to the Israelite faith, we're considered a cult because we believe in the Bible. We believe in nonviolence. But yet you have these groups that are out here with cases of known violence, and they're not considered a hate group. No one has killed anybody in the Israelite faith because they didn't believe or they disagreed with them. We don't go out and we don't carry weapons outside of what the law states. We don't force people to believe in the Bible or believe in God. We don't do those things. But yet we're labeled as the hate group. Meanwhile, you have fringe groups out here, real militias, uniformed militias, designed to do what? To go and cause violence and destruction in neighborhoods. Listen, let's keep going. It says, during these protests, a separate counter group of Americans emerged, one that considered its duties to dispatch armed men and the protest sites to try to circumvent property and destruction or theft by people outraged over police brutality and others. Now, remember, all these things are designed to happen. This is what the powers that be want. They want all these different fringe groups to come against one another. Remember, they don't have enough power themselves. If citizens will organize themselves against the government, then the government will have an issue. But what they're doing is, before they bring down martial law, before they bring down a police state, they have to divide the citizens. They have to have them all in different little fringe groups so that it's easier for them to control and destroy. When they went to the Middle East, they had certain groups. They had certain terrorist groups, Al-Qaeda, that they funded. The U.S. government funded these groups to weaken the area and then moved in and took control of it. See, this is what they do. This is what they're doing now. The black group. What's the black group that we have now? The black militia group. They designed to do the same thing. Right? I forgot the black militia group. I forgot the name of it. If I can find it, I will show you. But if anybody know that black militia group that just came out, I want to say they have in their acronyms a cuss word. I don't remember which one it is, but they're a militia group too, designed and put forth by the government. To start the chaos, to bring in martial law. This is what you're seeing. Now, not the Black Panthers. That's in the 60s. Now, even the Black Panthers were not a group like that. Black Panthers didn't believe in violence. What they believed in, they were being killed by the police, and they wanted to protect people who was unjustly being killed by the police. But they had breakfast programs, schools, and all these things that were doing good for the community. No, this is a new group that came out a couple years, maybe last year. Let's see if I can find this group here. Let me see if I can find them here. Let's see here. It's a black militia group. NFAC, not effing around coalition. They're another group. Paramilitary organization in the United States. See, it has been described by news outlets as a black militia. That's what it is. Yeah, not effing around coalition. They're no different from Black Lives Matter. They're no different from the Wisconsin Liberty Group or whatever we've been reading. No different. These people are set up for this, to bring distractions, to divide the people so they can bring in martial law. But the Bible's talk about that. Right? This is what it's designed for. Now it says initially, let's go in here. Let's see. Initially, most posts were largely informational. It says user shared images or links to firearms, shooting techniques, anti-Black Lives Matter, and anti-communist propaganda, and commentaries that attempted to rally Americans, quote, solid majority of conservatives to some sort of political action. Let us note here, Wisconsin is an open carry state, but it is illegal for those under 18 years of age, such as Rittenhouse, to carry firearms openly and in public. So that's another thing they got to look at. Why was he carrying a weapon? But on the flip side, looking up the laws there, he's allowed, if you're 17, you're allowed to carry a weapon if it doesn't have any modifications and the barrel length is according to the law there. So he's allowed to carry it. See? Now, I want to go down to the reports here. I want to show you this. Let's go down here. So this is on the Facebook post that the person over this post was able to gather. Now it says Dave, right? What you need to do to cartel these out of town looters and rioters. I'll team up and drive around till you find where they are parking their vehicles. Blacked out plates? ? No brainers. Burn them up. So now he's advocating this is one of the coalitions, to start violence by burning cars. Now remember, they said if anybody they saw rioting, they will start shooting. Now you have one of the guys allegedly that's from one of these coalitions, these militias, not black militias, but these militias, they're saying that they should burn up cars. Burn them up. And then he says, where are they going to do? Call the police? I can see the scenario now, officer. So your car caught on fire and burned to the ground? Where were you while this was happening? Looter. I was busy looting and rioting, scaring innocent people. Officer, excuse me while I go on lunch. All you people armed chair quarterbacking, get off your ASS and take your city back. Your great grandparents will look at you in shame. So this is the mindset that they're having. Take your city back. How do you take your city back? By violence. Another member urged followers to open fire on anyone that starts rioting. This is a post from Angela. Let me make the screen bigger so y'all can see it. Right? This is Angela. It says, when can we open fire? Alec says something back. Once fired upon. Don't give the media attention any ammunition. Don't give their media attention any ammunition. Miranda says, they do not need to fire. As soon as they brandish a weapon, you can fire. Now, you see how unorganized this group is? Soon as they brandish a weapon, what do you mean brandish? Did they point it at you? Did they just pull it out? Or because if that's the case, if I walk and it's an open carry state, if I walk in an open carry state, and in your mind, if you're not from my state, and you have put in your chat that as soon as someone brandishes a weapon, you shoot them, then you just broke the law. Because I'm allowed to open carry. Yeah. People get a taste of being a vigilante. Yeah. Sometimes it tastes so good they create their own agenda scenario to feed their hunger. This is what I'm saying. That's why I said they use this opportunity, this Jacob Blake thing, to fulfill what they always wanted to do. Walk around in the guns and soon as they have an opportunity, start shooting, killing people. Exactly. So Miranda says, as long as it says they don't need to fire. As soon as they brandish a weapon, you can fire. So no, you can't, because according to Wisconsin is an open carry state. Angela to Alec. Why do we have to wait if our homes are risking being burned to the ground? Castle doctrine still applies, correct? I think that's an old term, but yeah. It says, Miranda, as long as your life or someone else's is threatening. Now, that's all interpreted on what you feel is a threat. Angela, so gas cans in hand would constitute my life being threatened because they are going to light my home in fire, right? See, now, don't this sound like somebody itching to kill someone? Trying to use the law and trying to get it to a way to where they can maneuver it and make it the way to where they can, okay, well, what if they do this? Well, what if they do this? Can I shoot then? When you for self-defense, it's something you don't want to do. You don't want to have to take a life, but you absolutely have to do it. If your life is an imminent threat, an imminent danger to serious bodily harm of injury, then you protect yourself. But these people are itching to shoot and kill people. So you shouldn't kill someone. This is the first thing they're going to do is look at your history here. Listen what they said. I'm tempted to say that jail time is worth it. Does that sound like somebody that's trying self-defense? Right? Good question. What are your thoughts on protecting your life or taking another's? Mine is what the Bible says. Mine is what the law says here. If my life is in imminent danger of being taken from me, then I have to defend myself. I need to use whatever force necessary to eliminate that threat or stop the threat altogether. So I believe in self-defense wholeheartedly. I do. I believe in it, but I don't believe in putting myself, like Kyle Rittenhouse did, putting myself in a position to where I would have to use self-defense. Meaning you can be an agitator not knowing you are. Because the very fact that you brought a weapon that agitated the crowd, therefore it brought unnecessary attention to you. Therefore now you have to skate on that self-defense thing. It's just not worth it to me. So my thought is, if your life is in an imminent danger of being taken or harmed, you need to defend yourself. But as far as this chat we see here on this Facebook, let me show y'all. As far as this, if someone has to ask, in a sense how they're asking here, they're not concerned with self-defense. They're concerned with killing people. They're concerned with killing people. They're not concerned with self-defense. I don't want to take a life, but I was forced. See, this is what self-defense is. I don't want to take a life. I was forced to take a life. As a basic answer, I was forced to do. I had no other I had no other way of protecting myself. These people listen, look at the chat. Brandish a weapon. So what if they have a gas can? Well, I'm tempted just to say the jail time is worth it. See, people that want to kill people talk like that. So that's why I say this militia is not all the way innocent. Because they are showing evidence that they wanted to go out and cause harm. Right. So okay, Matt, that's a good question. Matty Cash Gaming says, I would defend my children's life, but I'm torn on whether it's a sin. It's not a sin to protect your life. Matter of fact, and since you apparently you believe in scripture, so let's see. I'm gonna show you. No, it's not a sin to protect your life. The Bible says, "Thou shalt not kill." Like, thou shalt not. When it says murder, it says, "Thou shalt not." It says, "Thou shalt not kill." Thou shalt not murder, meaning you shouldn't unjustly murder someone. Now, it was a lot of killing in the Bible, right? Right. It's one of those things that in the Bible, a lot of killing occurred in the Bible. It was justified killing. But unjustified killing someone is murder, meaning you going and it's premeditated. You going and you kill someone because you got angry, right? Right? So no, it's not a sin. And even like the law states that you can protect self and you can protect yourself and property and the property of others and other people's lives. If you see someone's life is in danger, you have a right to defend that life. For example, let me show you. If you see a person being in an alley somewhere being beat badly and they have a weapon and you see them, they getting ready, they have a weapon, a knife on it, and they trying to stab a person, you have every right to go and shoot that person and kill him because you're protecting the life of that person. Right? It tell you in the scriptures, and I'm paraphrasing in the law of Moses, that you can protect yourself and property by night. If somebody come in by night and try to break in your house, this is what the Bible says. You have every right to kill that person. That's self-defense. Right? So the Bible is nowhere in it where it says a sin to protect yourself, because when they would go to war, you had to protect yourself. Right? There's plenty of examples in the Bible where people had to protect themselves and they were justified. You just can't murder, right? You can't murder one. It can't be premeditated where you have it's not justified. Yeah, it says, I totally get defending mine, but theirs. Yeah, theirs. Who, when you say theirs, who are you speaking about? Right? So, but back to what we were saying on this. But this is what we're seeing on here on these militia groups. So it's hard for us to pick whatever side, because one side is labeling him as a racist. One side is labeling him as self-defense. And the other side is a part of the militia group were intentionally going there to commit violence. See? No, but you can defend your life and your children's life. Yeah, you can protect your life and the life of others. If it's an imminent danger. Of course, I'm not a lawyer. I have to put that out there. Disclaimer: I'm not a lawyer, but I've studied the penal code enough to know that if your life is in danger or the life of others, you have every right to defend yourself. Right? Right. So now, I think that's pretty much what I wanted to cover on that. Now, I want to quickly go into another transition to another topic that I have here that I want to show. And that's going into my second part that I have in the title, dealing with the LGBT movement and what's going on in the schools. I always have to put this out there because we don't hate people that's homosexuals. We don't hate people in the LGBT community. We have a stance that we stand by. I believe in the Bible. I believe in the Word of God. I believe that God's Word has full authority to this day. I believe in 2020, God's Word has full authority, and it's justified through all the things that you see that God has made. Everything is still in order. Everything still operates the way it is. You don't see two dogs walking together, being together. You don't see two female cats together in a relationship. You don't see two male dogs in homosexual relationships. You don't see it. So I believe that everything is still designed in its divine order, the way it was supposed to be in the very beginning, and that man should follow it. For some reason, man has this impression that God has now is that God's word needs to be revised, that God's teaching and his laws and his statutes need to be revised. And that's so far from the truth. God said he is the same today, tomorrow, and forever. And I'm paraphrasing. So he says, I am the Most High. I change not. He don't change. How do we know this? The same things that we're dealing with today, we deal with in the scriptures. They were dealing with homosexuality. We deal with that too in our modern times. They dealt with people committing adultery. We dealt with that in our modern times. So the things that the Bible is teaching us is things that are not new. These things are not new that we deal with. Homosexuality is not a new thing. It happened in Sodom and Gomorrah. Happened during the flood. It happened in the New Testament where they had to speak about that in Romans, especially during Paul's time. So I do want to go into this, and I want to establish my first point here dealing with school prayer in the United States, right? I want to start here because we have to lay a foundation of what I'm about to show you. How the schools have, how we have went so far away from God and placed the school system into the hands of Satan. Let me say that again. The school system has removed itself so far from God and has put itself in the hands of Satan. Now, let me read this before we get started. It says school prayer in the United States is organized by the school is largely banned from public elementary schools, middle and high schools by a series of Supreme Court decisions since 1962. Students may pray privately and join religious clubs in after-school hours. Public schools are those operated by government agencies, such as local school districts. They are banned from conducting religious observances such as prayer. So I just wanted to show you, to put this in and give you some history on praying in the school and showing you how far we have degraded ourselves from God, right? Let's keep going. It says since 1962, wait a minute, let me close out some of these things here. Since 1962, the Supreme Court has repeatedly ruled that school-mandated prayers in public schools are unconstitutional. Social conservatives have been able to pass constitutional amendments through Congress that would change that. It is a matter of the government promoting an established religion. The Supreme Court has also ruled that so-called voluntary school prayers are also unconstitutional because they force some students to be outsiders to the main group and because they subject dissenters to intense peer pressure, group pressure. In Lee versus Weisman, the Supreme Court held in 1992, the state may not place the student dissenter in the dilemma of participating or protesting. Since adolescents are often susceptible to peer pressure, especially in the matter of social convention, the state may no more use social pressure to enforce orthodoxy than it may use to direct means. Now, the part that I have highlighted and read is the one I want you to pay close attention to. Right? And I'm going to zoom in because this is very important that we pay attention to this part of what we're reading here. It says, since adolescents are often susceptible to peer pressure, especially in the matters of social convention. Keep that in mind because it's very important on what I'm about to show you. It says here, let's keep going to highlights. It says, in 1949, the Bible reading was a part of routine in public schools of at least 37 states. In 12 of these states, Bible reading was legally required by state laws. 11 states passed these laws after 1913. In 1960, 42% of school districts nationwide tolerated or required Bible reading, and 50% reported some form of homeroom daily devotional exercise. So in the early 20th century, you had what? A lot of Bible reading, Bible verse in schools. You even had histories where they would have to read 10 Bible verses a day, right? Right? So let's continue. The media and popular culture often erroneously credit atheist Madeleine Mary O'Hare with removing school prayer from the U.S. public schools. When the case against recitation of the Lord's Prayer in Baltimore schools was decided by the Supreme Court in 1962, a more significant case had reached the Supreme Court 1 year prior, suddenly changing the legal climate for school prayer. In 1955, the New York Board of Regents developed a prayer recommended, but not required, for the school districts under its purview. The prayer was relatively short, and it's the prayer. It says, and I quote, Almighty God, we acknowledge our dependence on thee, and we beg thee blessings upon us, our parents, our teachers, and our country. The board states that the prayer would combat juvenile delinquency and counter the spread of communism. So even though I still believe the Bible should be taught in schools, but at the same time, the powers that be wanted to teach the Bible in the sense of so it can counter the spread of communism. Everybody know what communism is: a state where everything is equal, right? That you don't have what we live in today is a capitalist society. So they want a communist society where they don't want the rich people. They want everybody to have an equal share, which I don't agree with, because that's going to be chaos, right? So it has to be some type of form, like meaning that working hard now is no longer a point. You don't have to work. We live under communism. So they can just sit back, not work hard, and receive the same thing you work hard for. And they get the same thing as you. Now, some form of communism or socialism that you might be able to use, but that's another topic. Let's keep going. 7 years later, Stephen I. Engel, a Jew, was upset to see his son's hands clasped and his head bent in prayer. He told his son that he was not the way we say prayers. Engel, a founding member of the New York Civil Liberties Union, brought action along with Daniel Lichtenstein, Monroe Lerner, Lenore Lyons, and Lawrence Roth, all parents of children in the Long Island, New York public school system, against Union Free School Districts Number 9 for its adoption and subsequent prescription of the so-called Regent's Prayer, arguing that it constituted the self-sponsored establishment of religion in violation of citizens' First Amendment right via the 14th Amendment 14th Amendment, meaning that government should not promote any religion and force it to be in the school. Okay. So that's all I want to read here. Just want to read that. But now I want to go into the whole point. Someone says, Kyle is no hero. I'm not saying, I believe Kyle should have stayed at home. Right? So I understand that point. So I just wanted to show that point, and I want to go into another point on the issue of them taking prayers out of school, right? So now, why did I bring out that point? Why did I say that? Matter of fact, let me go back to it because I want to show you this point. Why did I say we should keep focused on this one point here where it says, since adolescents are often susceptible to peer pressure, especially in matters of social convention. Keep that in mind because I want to show you something. Right? Now watch this. Let's look at this. Let's look at this. The reason that line is important because students are susceptible to different doctrines, things that things that they see every day. They tend to start mocking. They tend to want to follow. Now, this is why it's important, right? Look at this. Pound sign, stay home, Kyle. Right. Look at this. 4 states now require schools to teach LGBT history. Now, we just read earlier about that same comment that children are susceptible to what? To things that they learn, things that they see, things that they're being taught, right? I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, that this is an agenda to attack your children. Once again, let me put it out there. Listen, our church, our body, we're not against people that are homosexuals. We all understand that we all fall short of the glory of God if you believe in God. But at the same time, we can't allow people to program our children in a thing that's totally against everything that's in nature. So it has nothing to do with the person that we're against. We're against the action that's against nature, that we believe in God and we believe God made things in a cycle to operate. Right? Listen to this. I'm going to read some of this. It says, starting next school year, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender history will be part of the curriculum in Illinois' public schools. When it says starting next year, it's talking about July 2020. See, it started this year, a couple months ago. Democrat Governor J.B. Pritzker signed House Bill 246 into law, making Illinois the 4th state to mandate teaching LGBT history after California, New Jersey, Colorado. The Illinois legislation takes effect in July 2020. Listen what it mandates. Listen what it says. The law mandates that history classes in public schools include a study of the roles and contributions of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people in the history of this country and this state. So the law is going to mandate them to learn about history of gay, bisexual, lesbian, transgender people in the history of this country. Now, I do want to bring out this point. And this is what we have to agree on. Because Dr. Martin Luther King said in a speech that we should not be judged for the color of our skin, but the content of our character. Now, to me, it seems like these people are only being worshipped because they were gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender. That's totally against everything that we were supposed to be standing for. Should a black person be honored because they're black? Should a white person be honored because they're white? Or is it a bigger agenda that's being pushed? And they're using this under the guise of trying to promote history of great LGBT people. Which one is it? Because Martin Luther King said, we should not be judged by the color of our skin. They should not be, well, since they're lesbians, let's honor them. It should, if they're great and they did something for society, shouldn't that just be the point that should be pointed out? Not because they're gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender. That's cool. I'm keep going. Any textbooks brought with state funding must cover, and I quote, the roles and contributions of LGBT people and can't include content that is discriminatory to any particular gender or sexual orientation. Nationwide LGBT history often doesn't make it into the curriculum. Just under a quarter of students say that they have heard about the LGBT related topics in their classes, according to 2016 research from GLSN, a national advocacy group for LGBT students. Yeah, exactly. We are being bombarded. Yeah, bamboozled. Yeah, we are. It is. So what it is, it's a. Let me explain what it is. What it really is, it's an attempt for them to weasel their way into having LGBT content, period, into the schools. But they're doing it under disguise of just showing the LGBT history and what they their contributions to the world. But they're putting it under that disguise. But ultimately, what it is to promote and turn your children into homosexuals. I'm just putting it out there. That's what it really is. But they have to find a way to put it in without saying that. They can't just come out and say, we want your children to be homosexuals. They have to find a way to do it. They have to find a way to do it deceitfully. And that's the best way to do it, and say, well, we want to promote great homosexuals like they did with Black history. See? So in some states, teachers are faced restriction on how they can discuss issues of gender and sexuality in the classroom. 6 states have anti-LGBT curriculum laws that apply to sexual health education. Advocates say that that the way these laws are written leaves room for them to be misapplied to other parts of school and life. So pretty much they don't even have a curriculum to teach. They're just going to teach history about LGBT people. So what does that do? That allows your children to imagine. Right? Now, we always say it's best that you homeschool your children. Yeah, and I was gonna add that too. That this is a transition over the last 70 years. People think that this LGBT movement in schools is a new thing. No, they have always been adding LGBT material and content into schools. They just didn't do it on the mainstream. It's a thing called the second curriculum, but it's hidden. It's hid very well. You have the main public curriculum, then you have the secret curriculum, which is the LGBT movement, which has always been in schools. But what they're doing now is one to blatantly promote it without having to hide it anymore. I brought out a lesson last year showing you different books in schools' libraries where it shows you students were able to find books about little boys liking other little boys in school, or Jacob's little dress. Right? These books are in schools. Right? Watch this. This book was in a library. This is no lie. This book was in a library in a school. Check this out. It was in a school library. I did a news article on it last year. Students were able to check this book out and read it. And it's talking about how Jacob wants to wear a dress to school. It's aimed towards your children. Look, another one. Jacob's Room to Choose. These books are in your school library. Listen, I wish I can find that news article, and I will show you. Let me show you, matter of fact. These things are happening in school, where your children go. Let's see. Let's see right here. I think this is what I want. Let me see if this is it. But these things, and I'm gonna show you something else you should be disturbed. Right? So make sure y'all subscribe to the channel, like it, share it. Right? We almost finished here. I appreciate everybody, especially in the comments, that was engaging with this topic tonight. Let's see here. I want to find this so I can show you. I think they probably took it down, but last year I did a news article on this, and it showed how this book was in the school library at I want to say at an elementary school. If not an elementary school, it was at a junior high, like 6th grade, 7th grade. This book was in the library, free to check out. Right? Jacob's New Dress. So these things are in the schools, right? Alongside of now the mandated LGBT curriculum that's mandated that you have to teach. Right? So now on top of that, I want to show you something else before we close out. So now, like Paul said, that we are attacked on all sides, right? We are attacked on all sides. So now they're attacking your children in school by what? Now only 4 states so far. So if you don't live in those, I think it's California, Colorado, Illinois is one. I forgot the other one. The drag books. Yeah. That you're safe, but remember, that don't mean that it's going to be like that forever, and that's why we recommend you homeschool your children. But I do want to show you this. Now, you might think you're doing a good job, right? Remember, your child goes to school for 8 hours. And within those 8 hours, he's being trained in LGBT doctrine. Then when he gets home, you help him with homework, and then you allow him or her to go watch TV. Let me show you what's on TV. So imagine this: 8 hours a day, your child is gone away from you, being taught this mandated curriculum that's being mandated to be taught in schools, LGBT doctrine, curriculums or lessons or whatever you want to call them. Then he comes home and he's still indoctrinated with the LGBT community doctrine. Let's read. It says, list of animated series of LGBTQ characters. It says, this is a list of anime series with lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex, asex, genderqueer, and pansexual characters, along with LGBT characters. This list includes fictional characters in animated cartoons, adult animation, and anime, right? This page includes some, but not all of those on the list of cross-dressing characters in animated series. Now, what I'm going to show you is not a full list. It's just some of them that I decided to pull up for the sake of time. Right? So let's take a look at this real quick. So I showed you how it's mandated now, how this is to be taught in schools. brothers and sisters, please believe when I tell you, this is a concerted effort all together on all sides. Like Paul said, we are oppressed and afflicted on all sides. The powers that be have come together to make sure that they have all sides covered. They have school covered. That's 8 hours you're away from your children. So that's 8 hours they're away from being taught by you. Then when they go home, they're being indoctrinated by the TV because what? You might still be at work or you have things around the house you have to do, and therefore the TV is now become their parent. Now on the TV, we trust that they're going to show our children wholesome things. You're wrong. Let's go to 2020. Now in the United States, they have a show called Magical Girl Friendship Squad Origins. Now, it goes over here and shows you the purpose of this show. The purpose of this show is Daisy, one of the magical girls, a pale-skinned, bad ASS superhero who works with her female medium, brown-skinned roommate Alex in the show, is a lesbian. She sleeps with a black woman in the show's second episode, Super Party, who leaves after she sees Alex throwing up in a sink because she is drunk. Now let's look at the show. Right? Let's look at it. This show is on Sci-Fi. I want to say that's a regular TV channel, right? Right. Bless you, brother. Thank you for tuning in. Brother Matty Cash Gaming. Thank you, brother. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We on Facebook also. But yeah, look forward. We got way more content that's coming out. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your engagement. Thank you. All right. So now, but this Magical Girl Friendship Squad Origins, it's on Sci-Fi. That's a channel that's on your regular cable channels. Right? So your children has access to this show, and this show is promoting lesbians. See? Magical Girl Friendship Squad Origins. TV series. See? Now, let's keep going back. Let's go back to where we were. Now, we're just going to stay within the United States. Q-Force. 2020, it says, the adult animated comedy series will focus on the adventures of a handsome secret agent and his team of fellow LGBTQ super spies. Now, you tell me how that makes any sense. Anywhere they can fit in the LGBT movement, that's what they're doing. Let's keep going. United States. All these shows are LGBT shows. Ambiguous. I don't even know what that means. Is a combination of masculine and feminine characteristics into a ambiguous form. So it's another one of those confusing shows to have your children confused. Adventure Time, Distant Lands. See what this is all about. This show is on HBO Max. It says, is a collective name for a 4-hour-long web television special based on American animated television series Adventure Time, which was created by Peloton Ward and originally aired on Cartoon Network from 2000 to 2018. The specials are produced by Cartoon Network and Frederitor Studios. The special was released on HBO Max on June 25th, 2020. It might look like it's an adult cartoon, but hey, it's a cartoon altogether. See, they work with images. If any child sees all these colors, what are they going to do? They're going to look at it. Let's keep going. Cleopatra in Space. Cleopatra in Space is lesbian. Right here, if you can see right here, it's a lesbian. They are mothers of Aquila, friends of series of protagonists Cleopatra, Cleo. Apart from working as scholars at the Savior Institute, which studies Cleo in prophecy, she would save the galaxy from her evil clutches of Octavian. Right? This is what it's about. But she's a lesbian. See? So, Cleopatra in space. Let's look at that. What channel is that on? DreamWorks Animation. How many of you parents see that all the time on your kids' television shows? DreamWorks Animation. Cleopatra in space. TV series. They are lesbians. They promote lesbianism. Hoops is gay. Scott is a gay boy on the school basketball team who has been the Colts' best player before Maddie came around. See? It's a sitcom. And it's on Netflix. See? Let's continue. Kippo, The Age of the Wonder Beast, another gay show. It's on DreamWorks as well. Kippo and the Age of the Wonder Beast. Anime television series was created by Rafford Scancrist, adopted from 2015 webcomic Kippo. The series is produced by American company DreamWorks Animation Television. The series has been critically acclaimed for its design, characterization, music, world building, voice acting, and diversity. The series is particularly notable for its representation of LGBT and characters of color. So they try to throw those two together to make you be quiet. Well, they try to put the LGBT community with being black, but that's so far two totally different areas of study. But just to show you, DreamWorks. So let's go back. And Kippo and the Age of the Wonder Beast, they're gay, right? Let's keep going. The Owl House. They're lesbian, bisexual, and pansexual. The Owl House. Who is this by? It's animated fantasy television series and created by Diana Terrence and produced by Disney Television. So when your children come home from from a mandatory teaching of LGBT history in school, it's mandatory. Then they come home and watch TV and on Netflix and Disney and Sci-Fi and all these stations, they're being indoctrinated more with the same agenda. So the Owl House is lesbian, bisexual, and pansexual, and it's on Disney. So if y'all can see that. So let me backtrack. So your children go to school 8 hours, especially if you're in those 4 states that is mandated for them to teach LGBT curriculum. They go 8 hours, then they come home, and the shows that they watch also promote LGBT doctrine. Also promote LGBT agenda. See? So, with that, I appreciate y'all. Listen, protect your children, protect your home. Don't be lazy. Do what you have to do to protect your children. Protect what you have. Because at the end of the day, you are the parent. You cannot allow government to raise your children. So at the end of the day, the Bible says, raise up your children in the way you want them to go, and they shall not leave. They shall not depart from that. Spare not the rod. Don't put your children in situations where they tempted to do those things. Because they going 8 hours a day and they being told that being a homosexual is right. Remember, that's what I was saying earlier. Remember that point that I was saying. How they said it was unconstitutional to tell you to read the Bible and pray, but then they have no respect for your religious belief by promoting LGBT doctrine curriculum into a school of people who majority believe in God. You see how hypocritical they are? One side, they say it's unconstitutional to read and teach the Bible, but at the same time bombard you with something that's against most people's religious belief. Did they not forget? What about the people that's what if this is against their religious belief? Can they opt out of not learning this? No, because then if you don't learn this, you don't graduate. So the same thing that they did about the Bible, look how unjust they're doing it now. They're forcing you to bow down to the LGBT agenda, but then at the same time telling you that it's unconstitutional for you to believe in the Bible. That they couldn't force the Bible on you, but they can force the LGBT agenda on you. And you won't graduate unless you bow down to the program. With that, brothers and sisters, make sure you homeschool your children, right? Make sure you homeschool your children. Make sure you support this work. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. Our information is usually in the description. So check the descriptions. If you're on Facebook, check the descriptions there. Also, make sure you, if you're on Facebook, like the Breaking Babylon with Elder Asiy'el, type that in, or you can type in Breaking Babylon in the search. It will take you to my YouTube, my Facebook page. Like that page because we go live there and on YouTube. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our church channel, Israelite Temple of the Living God, right? We also on Facebook and YouTube. So if you have any questions, email me at breakingbabylon@gmail.com. If you have any church questions, email us at IsraeliteTempleLG@gmail.com, okay? So tune in with us. We'll be live again on Friday at 8 p.m. and again at 3 p.m. on Saturday. So we'll be live on Friday at 8 p.m. and again at 3 p.m. on Saturday, okay? So with that, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Hope you was edified. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share the video.